No One Likes Us Clothing is the Millwall clothing range. T-shirts, caps, polos, they've got it all. Visit www.noonelikes.us.co.uk, or why not visit the Blue Anchor, where a selection of shirts can be bought at the bar. www.noonelikes.us.co.uk.
Hi, it's Mr. Bye for Now from Millwall Football Club, and you're listening to the world famous AchtungMillwall.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to AchtungMillwall. 10 games into the league season, I thought it was time that we organised a round-table conversation about, it's just short of the opening quarter of the season. Joining me on tonight's show, we've got Graham Payne. Welcome to the show, Graham.
Hello, Nick.
We've got Matt Richards. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Nick.
And the husky voice, John Rankin. Welcome to the show, John.
Hello, Nick.
Sponsored by Husky.
The husky chocolate, yeah. Gentlemen, Thank you for coming on the show. I was trying to think of interesting and kind of fun ways to start the conversation whilst avoiding Scott Malone's positivity tweet on over the weekend. I've come up with something. I'm going to throw a question at all four of you now. If you get it, I'll be really, really amazed. What does Gary Rowett have in common with John, nicknamed Babacom Lee? John Babacom Lee and Gary Rowett. What would be the linking thing there? And if you get it, I'd be amazed if you get my convoluted logic. I'm getting shaky heads all on the four screens, the massed ranks of Mill experience staring back at me. John Babacom Lee is actually a prison link because obviously Gary Rowett's dad was a prison governor. John Babacom Lee was the man they couldn't hang in the 1880s. He was convicted of murder, and every time they tried to hang him at Exeter Jail, not Mr. Rowett's Isle of Wight jail, the mechanism of the gallows jammed, and they did it 3 times. They couldn't hang him, and then the medical officer retired. He wouldn't take part in proceedings anymore, and he was actually let off. And just as Gary Rowett, also, gentlemen, is the man they cannot hang. How many times does the man get close to his P45 before he pulls out a result, or the ball goes in the net and saves his bacon? I don't know. We are talking, of course, after the Saturday's strange win over Blackpool. Chaps, I don't want to downgrade the win on Saturday, because it was a win, and we'll take it all day long. But it felt a bit of an odd win. The lack of buzz and excitement as we all retreated back up in my case, along Zampa Road and Boleyn to go back to the station on Saturday. But I think he's bought himself some more time. And John, do you think Gary Rowett's out of the? Has he got off with John Babacom Lee and he's got off the gallows?
I think he has. I don't think he was ever on the gallows. My understanding is that it's the chairman and the CEO who make these decisions. And, I was talking to Matt Richards, myself and Matt met before the QPR game, and I said to Matt, what's John Berylson's end game here? Why is he owning this club? An American hedge fund manager, baseball fan. I looked him up on Wikipedia. I think he's got investments in the Boston Red Sox. What's his angle? Because I looked at the accounts, being the geek I am, and it don't make money, Millwall. I mean, we haven't posted a profit. I think, I went right the way back. We lost 14 million during the COVID because our gate receipts were down. Losses are between 3 to 5 million. So my guess is that football is, this is going to be controversial, but I can only say that to John Berylson, not really bothered, is he? And, football's secondary. It's some sort of real estate play on 125-year virtual freehold on very, very expensive real estate. Are Lewisham and Borough Council going to compulsorily purchase the den off him? And that will be a very nice investment for him. So in a convoluted way, what I'm saying is, I don't think John Berylson's that bothered. I think I'm questioning loyalty. I just don't think it's high up in his agenda. He'll say, even if the crowds go down to 5,000, that might say, well, hang on, that's in the cash flow. But it seems to me, I don't think we've got a chairman who's that, he's loyal and he's well respected and he's brought a lot of stability to the club. But is he that engaged in those kind of decisions? Maybe not. I don't know. So Gary Rowett, for me, is, and we all know this, he's here to stay until he walks. He signed a contract. They're not going to spend half a bar, half and quit to get out of it. End of.
Interesting view. I don't know about. I mean, Theo Pathesis, Graham, famously said the way to make a small fortune out of football is to start off with a big fortune and watch it go down. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I take John's point. I can't believe anyone with money wants to watch, just keep on lumping out. Was it 10 million, 12 million, 14 million losses each year? We have never made money. We've only ever lost money. I know what John's saying about the what's his angle. I don't really have an answer, if I'm truthful, to that question. But he does keep, John is still here. John Berylson is still here. He does keep funding the club, and long may he continue. Because the Lewisham thing, compulsory purchase. They don't seem to have much drive about them themselves. I mean, when this project called New Bermondsey starts, I don't know. I've not seen a digger on site anywhere. Have you, Graham?
No. I mean, it's always been there in the background, and that's always been what most people think is John Barrelson's end game when New Bermondsey kicks off and all the real estate around it. So to say that I can't believe he would just let the club drift. Surely he doesn't want us back in League One.
He's invested big time this year. I mean, the players he brought in, the German and Fleming and others, says to me that he's interested in achieving. Whether he has the kind of funds required to really compete hard in the Championship, that's the question. I don't think. I'm not going to knock John Berylson's largesse, but I think you do need you probably need more investment. I think we all wonder what Husky chocolates, because I mean they seem to have come in they seem to have money. They're investing in Formula One, Graham, aren't they? Yeah,
that was always. I always thought that when Husky come in, they would have a bigger, try to get more involved, and maybe. I mean, there's always been the rumour that maybe they would want to take the club over at some stage, but that hasn't happened. They seem to be happy, just doing the shirt sponsorship, and as you say, they seem to have invested in Formula One, but. I don't know. It's he has invested this summer. I just can't believe he'll let it just drift. If it continues the way it is, and we keep something will have to change. I can't see it just saying Gary Rowett, you can carry on as it is, because it's not enjoyable, is it? Saturday we walked out, and it was like, did we win that game? It was just a surreal feeling. It was. No one stayed for normally the rocking all over the world. Everyone was out. They're gone.
They had gone. Exactly. I mean, Matt, you were there Saturday. It feels churlish to complain when we've won. It was a very odd performance, I found. We won it, so you mustn't moan. But it didn't exactly leave me feeling like we're looking at a successful season ahead. How did you find Saturday game, mate?
Well, I mean, it's like everyone has been saying, it was really flat, and like Graham was saying there, it's like, I think I was straight up the stairs and out the ground as soon as I could. This is not about this season though, is it? This is a culmination of 3 years of Gary Rowett, and I've been a big backer of him. But now we're kind of, it's his squad, apart from perhaps like your Cooper, your Hutch.
Yeah, they're
Wallace at the back and Bart.
Yeah.
Everybody else is brand new, so he's had 3 years to put in his style of play, his formation, etc., the famous five across the back. And we've had highs and lows, but we've had decent finishes. But you look at this year, it's been poor. There's been very few good performances. One really decent performance, and probably a second half against Cardiff. and people were just fed up. I mean, I think it was a massive thing on Saturday as soon as Blackpool scored and the crowd started getting on his back. That's the first time we've heard it at the Den. We've had it away, Peterborough last year, but that's a massive thing. People won't forget that. And the way we came out of the ground, it wasn't as Graham was saying, you weren't skipping out the ground. So we won't forget that. So when it happens again and we start going behind, it's going to be grey rare, your football shit. It's going to be happening. So I think it's a big turning point. I think he's safe. I don't think he's going to be hung yet, because I think he'll scrape by for now, unless we get slipping. I can't see him being sacked unless we go into relegation. I can't. But then the big variable is the crowd. If the crowd is on his back, then Bells and Kavanagh are going to have to do something.
Yeah, he says. I mean, I've just been looking at some of the interviews on the London News Online. He talks about the lead story is the Lions boss gives a detailed answer on his formation approach. I mean, it's kind of detailed. It basically says he's still sticking with his 5-man defence, really. Yeah. So I don't know how detailed. Apparently we played a 5-2-1-2 formation, which was lost on me, listeners. I'm going to be really honest with you.
Lost on me and all it.
I saw there's 11 players on the pitch, and that was about it.
Sounds like a phone number, doesn't it? 5-2-1-2. Apparently that's what we were playing Saturday. And he says here, I'll be. This is Gary Rowett. I'll be really honest. I was toying with switching to a 4, but I didn't think we had time to do the work on it. I felt let's do something slightly different. Hence, John, the changes in personnel, the dropping of Bart. I thought that was a harsh decision. I suppose he'd argue that with the win, it's kind of justified. But do you feel Bart is the source of our defensive woes, John? I mean, it was apparently George Long is a leader on the field and he's vocal, and that's where we've been falling short in Gary Rowett's eyes. I don't know.
Well, I put on our WhatsApp group about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I'll give George Long a try. And everyone...
You did say that.
You
did say that, yeah.
And the reason for that is this. If you're going to play the ball around at the back, Bart is not your man. We all know that. And also I'm beginning to see, this is the thing about Millwall. This is what's happened all over the years. You have these sacred cows. Players become so embedded in the psychology that you mustn't criticise Bart, you mustn't criticise Jake Cooper. I think those 2 players have let us down badly. I'll tell you for why. And you've asked me a question. I'm going to say how I feel. I can only speak for myself. Norwich, Bart got beat on his inside post. Sargent went through. It was a quick 1-2, bang. Right, I was there. Yeah. I was at the game. And, for a goalie to get beat, I mean, Bart's reputation is built on I can save goals. I can't come for crosses. I'm shit with my feet, blah, 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 but I'll save a goal. Well, I haven't seen that. And I think George Long deserved a tryout. And I'll tell you what, I'd keep him there for a while. I think he deserves a tryout. I think he's good. And this question of leadership at the back, well, it just bears out what we've been saying. I mean, there is no one leading. Gary Rowett has got to think about the captaincy and whether he's going to have a proper captain on the pitch or whether he's going to have a message taker who just comes over and says, "What do I do, boss?" and goes and tells them. He's got to have, I would put maybe George Saville, Billy Mitchell might be a bit young to be captain, but put your captain in that midfield, because I'll tell you what, I mean, even Sean Hutchinson, I don't see his his mouth going. And George Honeyman could be a captain. So, I think you're getting close to some really fundamental issues here. And I'm going to bang them up about defence, but I think our problems stem from defence this season.
Well, this season for sure, we've conceded. I haven't got the results in front of me, and the number of two goal games where we've conceded seems a lot. I mean, Graham. I do agree that the on-field leadership, has been a problem for some time. I'm wondering whether that Jed, for all of his the soap opera of his departure. I was actually, one of my notes to myself, Graham, was whether did Jed bring more leadership than he brought skill? Because, I mean, he's a good player, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He had his flaws. I mean, he couldn't cross. But But what he did bring was what I think Honeyman's been brought in for, has been that relentlessness. Jed will tackle back, Jed will run, Jed will keep going. And I think the body language a few games this season has not been great out there. And maybe as John has put it there, maybe that's why we need personalities out there that G these players up. It seems a bit strange for a professional to suffer with this, but there we are. Maybe that's what we're dealing with, Graham.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I put it on the WhatsApp. The first half on Saturday was absolutely appalling. There was no movement. There's no one suggesting anything. It was just so flat. And, I think you're right about Jed. I mean, I think he was like he was the top man. And I think the team looked to him as their leader, even though he wasn't the captain. And with now, we're as John's rightly said, Cooper I don't think is a good captain, and I don't think Sean Hutchinson is either. But who you give the captaincy to, I wouldn't know. I mean, Honeyman, I don't know about him. I'm still. I mean, Saturday he seemed to run around a bit and clobber someone, and Rowett. The referee had a word with him, and Rowett did the right thing and took him off, because I think one more he'd have been sent off, and Rowett took him off and brought on. I think he brought on Danny Mack and put Shackleton into midfield. But I don't know who they would actually turn to. I think, mate, I mean, he's been the standout player for the last 2 or 3 games, has been Billy Mitchell for me. For all the stick he gets, he stood up. He was the only one against QPR who looked, he was trying, and, whether he's too young to take the captaincy on, I don't know. But yeah, it is.
I know what you mean. I think Zian Fleming was taken off. He was getting involved with some argy barging. I think the same reason that Rowett took him off, rather than see him get, I don't know, he's going to get booked or whatever he might have got there. If he raised his hands, he might get worse. But I mean, Matt, I mean this whole thing of leadership, I find it quite strange that professional footballers don't find it within themselves, when one of the most privileged professions going, but they seem to need someone to bellow in their ear as to what to do. It's I know it's a general thing, but it seems to be a flaw in this squad.
Well, I mean, I agree that you do need leadership on the pitch, but leadership obviously starts off the pitch as well. So it's all about that cohesive squad, isn't it, really? So it stems from Rowett and the coaches. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what the guys are saying. Definitely we're missing Jed and his leadership. He was the beating heart of the team. Who you have in there, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about this today, is questioning. I mean, Hutch is 32, isn't he? Or nearly 32.
He must be knocking along now, yeah.
And he's, bless him, he's injury prone, but he's our best defender. Cooper, he's not having a good season. Didn't have a great season last year. He's kind of being found out. So is it, but I think we spent our money, obviously, and obviously transfer window's out anyway. But, should we be thinking about replacing one of those two with a proper leader, a centre half? Pearce had that. Obviously, he didn't have the legs, probably didn't have the skills at his age anyway. But maybe it's something there, because I can't see a natural leader there. Billy Mitch is an obvious one, but he's probably too young. Like I said, and Honeyman, I've got question marks over Honeyman. I think he just seems to just jog around the pitch. He's kind of sold to us as he's this firing midfielder who would be up and down, and we'd love him. He just kind of jogs around, really.
He was nominated as player of the season before he
exactly.
took the pitch.
I'd like to take it off him now.
He's lost that.
He's lost it already. So I can't see. There isn't a leader, I don't think, currently in the squad.
Achtung, Millwall.
I was looking through some of these interviews just to try and get some ideas for this conversation, listeners, and it's quite interesting because there's one piece on London News where I suppose this is leadership in a way, isn't it? Leadership is carrot and stick. So there's one where Rowett says he's had to have words behind closed doors with the chaps, I think, as he calls them. And he said that he wants players to step up, which sounds like those that don't step up will, John, maybe your sacred cows will get sacrificed, on an altar outside in the car park or something. Certainly, Saturday, I thought might have been a roll of the dice, a panicky roll of the dice, but he seems to have thought about it a little bit. I mean, I imagine this is going to be the team that takes the field at Ewood Park. I can't see any reason to change it, particularly with a win under their belt.
Well, I'm not a great fan of Rowett when he does this mixed messaging and starts blaming his players. What he should do is take responsibility himself, and he should say things along the line like, as follows: we're obviously not performing as well as I think we should do. It's my fault. I'm going to find the solutions. Watch this space. I've got some good lads here, and I'm going to make them perform better. Great managers like Ferguson and Cloughy, who I think great managers that existed, never ever did that. They always were very careful about their players' self-esteem, and they would never ever castigate players and say, "Well, it's not my fault. It's the players." They would never do that. They would take ownership, and they would say, "These are my boys. I'm going to look after them. I'm going to give you a good performance." Now, I think, unfortunately, football's changed from when it was strapped into our DNA. It's a business, and he's got one eye on his next job, one eye on not getting sacked. It smacks of me as a middle management, arse covering. I'm not impressed at all whatsoever. You understand?
No, I agree. I mean, Graham, there's a strange. I mean, I don't know why I'm going to you for middle management, Graham, but the words middle management, my falls upon Graham on my screen. There's this. There is this.
I've got Oxford quotation around it. Middle management.
Oxford quotation. There was a kind of a passive aggressive phrase that he used in one of his interviews, which I've kind of half written down. It's not word for word quote here, but he's saying, Graham, that he's taking flack for the lads. He's taking flack for the lads. He's taking it. You can imagine, listeners, anyone who's listening around the world, you can imagine what the West Lowers dishing out to him when the game was adrift. Yeah. I mean, there was one point in the second half, Graham, where everyone seemed to be standing around. I thought, is there a football match going on here? It's like nothing was happening, Yeah. So you can imagine what's being dished out. But I don't know. I'm taking flack for the lads, and it's up to them to step up. That's paraphrasing a bit. I mean, it does have that kind of blame me quality, isn't it?
This taking flack for the lads, it's been, apart from his first, I'd say, up until the original COVID. Since he's come back, it's been this dire football, and people when they go. You've said it enough, Nick. When you're at the Den, you've got to bring the crowd into it, and the crowd are not getting into it because of what's going on the pitch. You basically it's getting to the stage now where I think, we've got to wait to the second half because then it'll start. The first half is normally a non-event. Yeah. It's 0-0. And then second half, we're attacking the cold blow lane, and it'll have a go. But him taking flack for the lads is just rubbish. I'm sorry, I'm not having that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I agree. I mean, it's an odd approach. I mean, Matt. I mean, we were due to catch up with Matt. I spoke to Graham before the game, but I couldn't hang around for Matt. He was well late, getting there to the ground. So
I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait.
I couldn't wait either. The number of times I've had conversation. I mean, Graham and I were talking about people saying to me, go do these non-league games and you go along, you enjoy it. You can stand there with a beer in your hand. You can enjoy the football such as the level allows. We'll get that side of it. But it's that idea, and I think it's a fair point that people aren't not really enjoying going down the Den particularly. I'll go there out of a warped sense of loyalty. What else? It's this false habit of 50 odd plus years now of going to the ground. And that's not good. You can't keep on testing people's patience and dishing up old tosh and saying, well, you've got to keep coming because you're loyal Millwall fans, or worse to that effect. The football needs to up itself, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, yeah, you're right. We'll go week in, week out. But, I mean, was it 11,500 on Saturday? I'm sure it seemed less than that.
Didn't look like 11,000 in there.
It was less than that. So... And if that continues, then it's going to be even less than that. So that's no good to the club, is it? So, if you are, Belson, whatever his end game is, he doesn't want to lose money. So we need to get people coming in. and that's
No.
they're not going to like that, and it's it's not, and we're not going to win games either. So it's like, we're
No.
going to go down, and then we're going to, so it's in nobody's interest for us to continue playing football the way we are and getting the results we are. And those, the ultimate responsibility now, 2 years ago I might have been arguing, well, it's not his squad, but it is his squad now.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's his responsibility.
It's very much his squad. I was going to make a joke about there being more bird shit affected seats than people in my block, but that would be that would be an exaggeration, listeners. It ain't that bad, but there was a lot of empty seats around me. I can tell you that, compared with some of the opening fixtures, which I know were in the
At least you can spread out a bit more, though. That's I used to quite like that in the old days. You can put your feet up and everything like that. It's...
I don't know what they feed these pigeons on. Maybe they're eating the stuff out the old catering food when it goes cold. Maybe give them that. I don't know. We've got to be positive, gentlemen. We've been told by Scott Malone. We've got he posted and then deleted this post. That
I don't mind that, though. I don't mind him. I don't mind it. Part of me, I don't mind him kind of being a bit spiky and kind of, come on.
Morrisonian, isn't it?
We've got nothing to be positive about, so he's an idiot. But I mean, I don't mind him having a bit of a pop back, because you want someone to have a bit of fire in their belly, don't you? You want them to have a bit of fire in.
One thing that makes me laugh, chaps, is the Millwall fans are good at dishing it out. I mean, that's one of our club's top traits, I think. But they don't like it when someone says something back, do they? I mean, the torrent of abuse that came Scott's way before he deleted it, and I agree with Matt. It was a pretty stupid thing to say, and ill-judged. But some very, very fragile egos looking around out there, John. I mean, people don't like it when they have a go back. I mean, I'm sure if a player had a go at someone in the crowd, there'll be uproar about it. It's a very odd, one-way street that people want, isn't it?
I mean, we're all the certain generation, and normally your typical Millwall supporter relishes the conflict. That's what we want. I love it when people have a go at me. I think it's great. I normally just start laughing personally. And I mean, taking me back to the 70s and 80s. With banter leading to a bit of pie throwing, and stuff like that. It was,
stick-ups. I mean, I've seen that. I mean, there was Laurie Madden chinned someone, didn't he? And there's a video of it as he's coming off the pitch. He actually chins the fans coming on to congratulate him. He puts a right hander into the bloke.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm old enough. I mean, this. So just interrupting you, John. Social media. I mean, people get very worked up over very little now. But one of my early memories was sitting in the seats at Cold Blow Lane, the orange seats, the forecourt seats they called it. And there's a bloke next to me bellowing at Steve Brown, who was a winger in the early 70s. Steve Brown, who turned around and told him to fuck off. Back, he said, "Fuck off." And then the bloke wants to have it out with him on the pitch. He's got his fists ready to go. Oh, sit down. I mean, that's a bit. That was actual physical. I think they would have taken it out into Cold Blow Lane afterwards. That's different.
No, I mean,
we've moved on from those times. John, sorry, I interrupted you, mate.
No, I was going to say we used to regularly have a bit of verbals going with Dave Donaldson. All the time. Donaldson, and he'd look round and his fingers and all that.
Fuck off.
What it was, right? It came from a position of caring. We were engaged with the team, and there was that real engagement and emotional investment. And you're right. Saturday was not enjoyable. I thought our performance was not good. And I always watch the replays afterwards as well, because you see two different games. I miss so much when I'm actually at the game, And that.
What, you watch the whole 90 minutes worth, John?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Blind.
Yeah. And it comes out.
I thought you meant the YouTube clip, the 2 minutes on there. That's what I watched.
I think that's right.
Wow.
So, my son's got older now and my daughter's grown up. I mean, I have to feel the turn of something. That Patino goal, right? Yeah. That was a joke. They actually watch it. Watch what I mean. How positive I'm on Billy Mitchell. What was he doing? He was. I saw 4 defenders watching the ball. And we all know from our schoolboy football days, you don't watch the ball when you defend, you watch the men. You watch, one goes after the ball and the others mark up.
Yeah.
Basics. That's that Blackpool goal. And I think that's the root of it for me, because, listen, I can live with boring football as long as we win. Like, I don't care. But what I won't have is people coming, teams coming down with travelling support and taking the piss out of us and walking through our defenders. We're soft. Millwall's going soft. Our reputation's going all over the place. There was a bit of bite about us and a bit of robustness. Teams are taking the piss out of us, and it's got to stop. Yes, at the back.
That fascinates me. You're right, John. Everything you said there. But I was talking to Neil Fissler, Graham, last Friday, and it made a lot of people have made this point. Neil particularly, that we're coached by a group of defenders, including Rowett himself, plus the Paul Robinsons, and I could understand. I'd actually made a mental note to myself to move on to the positive, but we're back onto the negative now, so I'm going to go on about the negative. Because John's pulled me back into the negative, which was defending, and you'd think with four Adam Barrett was a Southend. You'd think we'd have that nailed, and maybe they won't have much of a clue going forwards. That don't seem to be that way. There seems to be a lack of spirit in the squad, Graham. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Definitely. I mean, when we spoke before the game on Saturday, we said, have the players just had enough of Rowett and his ideas? It must get to a stage where you just think, and I can't, enough's enough, because you think back, Rowett's major thing was a solid defence. We were hard to score against. Now, every game this season, maybe apart from Stoke, I would say every team, well, most teams have scored anyway. Cardiff had 2 chances, hit the post twice, had another header. QPR in the week. The solidarity is not there anymore. And, as you say, all the backroom staff are defenders. Now, to me, in the summer, he should have got a forward coaching, someone who's played in a forward position, midfield or a forward coaching, just to change it up a bit. I
agree. Matt, I'm trying to drag us back to some positivity, because I'm trying to be counsel for the defence, King's counsel now for Gary Rowett. 2 points off the playoffs at the moment, Matt. Are we all being a bit harsh on the club? This is dreamland from Millwall historically to be. I know we're only 10 games in, but being serious, that's 2 points off a 6th spot. That's the aim. That's the target for the season. I think that's what Malone was trying to drive at, perhaps, with his positivity tweet. Yeah,
I know, and he's right, and that is right. The fact, but you look, it's only 10 games in. I think Sunderland are 5th with 15 points. So I've done a bit of homework. Borough are 3rd from bottom with 10 points. So there's 5 points difference between 3rd from bottom and 5th. So everybody's kind of much of a muchness. It's a very average start to the season for everybody, I think, apart from perhaps Sheffield United and Norwich are a decent team. So you're right. I think you can't take, but I don't think you can take much by where we are as opposed to 6th place, because I think everyone's a couple of points off of 6th place, really. Us lot here, looking at us on the screen here, we are optimistic people. Otherwise, we wouldn't be going down the den for like 40 or 50 odd years. We want to be positive.
We live in hope, Matt. We live in hope, mate. Yeah.
There's no way. If we were negative people, then this would.
No, you'd pack it up, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Pack it up.
So
no.
We want to be positive. So it did put my back up when I saw it. But I think there are elements of positivity. I think Fleming's looking a really good player.
Well, that was one I was going to mention, Ziad Fleming. Yeah.
So we can go into it and somebody else can talk about it. But I love what I love. So he's got quality, but I love his attitude. You can see his attitude. He's a fighter, and he's going in for tackles where perhaps he shouldn't. But he really wants to impress. You get the feeling that he loves it here. He loves the club. He loves the chance he's been given. So that's That's the only positive thing I've got. That's all I've got.
Yeah, no, that's the one. That's the one that I wrote down. I mean, John, I mean, would he be your standout positive for the season so far, Zian?
Yeah, I've written down here. I mean, he hit the post, didn't he? Against Blackpool.
A couple of times.
Yeah, a couple of times. I'm really impressed with him. What concerns me is that Rowett's going to move him around and substitute him and then try different. Play him at number 10 for as long as he's fit, right? If he's fit, he turns up with his boots, ready to play him at number 10. Leave him there. Rowett's got to show some faith and trust in his players, and this is why when you get a manager start blaming his own players, it concerns me. Rowett doesn't know whether he's on foot or walks back. It's clear to me. I mean, he just hasn't got a clue what he's doing. And what Graham said there, about we're so leaky defensively, and yet all the coaching staff are defenders. Well, what's going on? So I think if we get a solid platform back and a decent industrious midfield, Fleming could be brilliant for us. So I just like Rowett continues to play him,
Absolutely. I mean, I thought he has been a revelation. More Graham, because he's ambitious in his. I think I've said this a few times. He shows ambition on the ball. He'll have a go. He's prepared to fail. And yes, there's a shot that will go well wide of the mark or into the top deck of the CBL or wherever. But it's that willingness to have a go, because the percentage player doesn't want to make an error, don't want to make a mistake, and that goes nowhere. But I really like the look of the boy, Zian.
Yeah. I mean, he is the shining light at the moment of the team. But and he, as you say, I like the fact that he's prepared to have a shot from the edge of the box. A lot of the time you see him on the edge of the box and they'll pass it somewhere else, where if he's got the ball, he's looking to shoot. And I like that. And as you say, sometimes it's going to go in, sometimes it's going to hit the top tier, but you've got to be prepared to give it, try these things.
I mean, Matt, I'm going to throw a name at you, Tyler Bury. Didn't see him Saturday. I think by common consent, maybe Zian is our most dangerous player for his sheer willingness to try and shoot from anywhere. But by far another standout player for me this season has been Tyler Bury. Yet he can't find a spot in Gary Rowett's side. If I was in Tyler's shoes, I would think about a move away from a club that don't seem to, or a manager that don't seem to want to play me.
Well, I think this is it is a bit of a concern, really. And thinking about Rowett, in my mind, if I try and put myself into Gary Rowett's mind, who can do that? I don't know, but I can't see he's a sort of manager to play Tyler and Zian Fleming in the same team. He might be thinking it's too much creativity, much stuff.
Thing that they say about luxury players.
Yeah. That's why I think he's thinking. Graham was saying about percentage players. He wants a certain amount of percentage players. He'd rather have Honeyman there than Fleming with Tyler. And he only stick Tyler on. I mean, I think everybody wanted him to come on just for a bit of excitement at the end of the game, but you think, well, he's only going to come on if we're losing or we're drawing. Yeah. That shouldn't be the way. We should be going for it. We should be cutting, especially the last 20 minutes. Everyone's tiring. You were crying out. I was looking over the time, hopefully seeing him coming on. I see Danny Mack come on. You think, oh, it's nice to see Danny have a bit of a run out, because I think he needs a run out, but it's not going to get you off your seat, is it? So
not the same way. No.
Tyler, I think you're right, Nick. It's a question. I'm sure he's asked, because he seems a bit of a chippy boy, isn't he? I think he'll. I'm sure. I think he's got his.
Yeah, I think he's got his views and opinions, Tyler. I don't mind that. He's right. I mean, John, I think Tyler knows his talent, and he knows that he's not getting a chance at. I think proven he can go past championship level defenders. Like my knife goes through my low fat flora in the mornings. I find it quite strange that he's not playing. Just 2 starts for Tyler, 7 off the bench.
Well, when we did our last, chat, I think I said, if he was the manager, right, you're drawing up your 11 players, who's the first name on your sheet? You got to start somewhere. Maybe Tyler Bury. I think he's phenomenal. I think Bennett Foe is a great player. And I know he comes in for such unfair criticism. My front 3 would be Fleming, Bury and Foe. So I think they're our 3 best.
Yeah.
And then you supplement that with,
that.
well, yeah, and then you supplement that with Vogel Slammer, you know, who's hit the bar twice. It's good to me, and he's already getting coated off, and the kids hardly touch the ball. You know, it's ridiculous. So Rowett's got, you know, our front players look after themselves. I mean, you know, they really do. They're instinctive. They go on creativity. Just let them go. It's, you know, it's what's behind them that gives them the foundation. So I think our front players look after themselves. If I was in the transfer market, I'd go in for that Preston North End centre half. What's his name, Story or someone like that. You know, get a real solid boy in there, and bang, there you go. Spend a lot of money on a really decent defender to shore it up, and then let these front boys go. But Tyler Bury is just a fantastic player, and you know, why he's not starting every single game is beyond me. I just can't work it out. Madness.
Achtung, Millwall.
I think football managers generally, and I think Gary Rowett's like the Ron manager type, isn't he? That they fall into this cliche. I mean, I found a quote. He always says we don't have to tinker too much with the squad or with the team. He values, emphasises the need for the team. I put it in caps. It wasn't in the interview, for the team to show up. He values team play, which is fair, over the kind of over the individual talent of the likes of Tyler Bury. I mean, this is a fairly common thing that football managers say, isn't it? That they you know, does he do the backtracking? Does he, you know, it's like Glenn Hoddle famously for England never did the backtracking, did he?
Hoddle.
So we didn't play him. With Stan Bowles in I think he played for England once or twice. Didn't do the hard work, but only did the flair. Frank Worthington, and so it goes on. We can name loads of players like it, but then I suppose Gary Rowett's employed, as he would see it, to get Millwall into the top half of the table. It's that bleak kind of attitude, rather than produce like Kevin Keegan did with resources, obviously with Newcastle, a team that you never forget with all strikers and everything going gung ho. Rowett would always probably fall on the percentages. I can see Tyler getting disgruntled with that, because I would be in his shoes, Graham.
Definitely. As Matt said it, I think he's not probably short of a few words, and I can't see how he's going to carry on just being, you know, on the bench and just getting the odd cameo, as you say, if we're losing or, you know, or we're drawing. But one thing that he's got that none one else in the team has got is pace. We've got no pace in that team. Now, if he come on, he's an outlet straight away. All right, doesn't track back and all this. But, you know, that's the other thing. I mean, a lot of people around me always moan. When we're defending a corner, we bring everyone back. We never leave anyone up.
Forward,
you could leave him up with pace, and you've got an outlet. But no, we bring everyone back. And, the team is really lacking in width and pace in my eyes. The wing-backs, it doesn't work. The wing-backs are not good enough to play the role that he wants them to play. They don't get, fought down the line, crosses in, and then so that's the issue for me. The lack of width and the lack of pace in the team are the stumbling blocks for me when they're going, especially when they're going forward. You know? Yeah,
I mean, Rowett kind of deals with it. He touches on that because he says the five at the back approach has served us well over the years. He then goes on to know he knows that QPR was boring, and that's when he said he took a lot of flack. And then he hasn't had time to work on the four-man defence approach. Matt, and there's loads of reasons, so you can't keep saying this four-man. I mean, this idea of exciting football, Matt, ain't going to work, mate. Don't get you up into the top 10 of the championship.
Well, I mean, saying he hasn't had time. How long do they need? I thought at the start of the season, anyway, I thought he was supposed to be trying different formations anyway, wasn't he? Really?
Well, he's been dragged kicking and screaming towards the four-man defence and the idea of attacking football, isn't he?
I mean, I think it's like you said earlier. I think he's made scant, or he's mentioned it in passing, but he's never going to change. The only time he's done it is if we're forced to with 20 minutes to go and we're 2-0 down.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. I can't see he's going to do that. He's not going to change that.
I'm just looking at the next set of fixtures. We come back this international break this weekend, listeners, obviously. And then we come back to Blackburn away, Rotherham midweek away. That's going to good luck to those that go to the Rotherham midweek game. That's one a game too far from me. We've got some difficult fixtures, and you look at just some, the two northern trips there. Then you've got Middlesbrough at home, Bristol away, Watford at home, West Brom at home. That'll be pantomime time, won't it? Then Huddersfield away, Birmingham away, Hull, and then Preston away to take us up to the World Cup break, this strange season that we're in. I suppose the aim there, John's going to be to grind out another 3 or 4 results and keep us in the mid to upper table zone, I guess. I hope you're not expecting any excitement, John Rankin. Any flair?
We had a bit of a laugh on the WhatsApp group with our manager from the last show, right. And it's, you can hear them. I know what the results are going to be, and I know what the post-match interview is going to be. Gary Rowett's reaction. Transition, most quality, all 5 at the back, jumps to goal post. It's so stuff. I mean, these phrases he comes out with. I mean, it's where do you start? I mean, this thing about Tyler Bury. I tell you what, he does get back though. He does. I've seen him covering down on the flanks quite a lot. He tries. I think all these Millwall players do try. I just don't know what happens. Their edge drop and they're very flat-footed. I was watching the defenders and they're, there's no bite, and I think something's happening there. When Alex Pearce was club captain, when he did play, he really got them going. He got them well organised, and there's just something not gelling, isn't there? It's a plastic performance. There's no passion. There's no, fight. There's no desire. There doesn't seem to be much hunger, and I feel sorry for the players. I really do.
I wonder, Graham, whether there are. I've said previously, I don't know Gary Rowett from at all, but I wonder whether there is an undercurrent that players are dissatisfied with the way the management works there, and I don't know that there's anyone in the backroom staff that acts as any kind of what's the word, like a lightning rod for frustration. He seems to have players that he likes and players he doesn't like. I mean, Danny Mack, clearly a favourite at the Den. I think he's got his limits as a player, but he's going to bring the crowd into play. I think Gary Rowett mistrusts the idea of the Den coming into play. He says he likes it, but I don't think he really understands it, nor does he know how to tap into it.
He definitely don't understand it, and I think you're right. He doesn't know how to tap into it. And I think he has got certain players that he favours and others that he like Danny Mack. I think even to a certain extent, George Saville, he seems to be in and out the team a lot.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be a fave, does he? Tyler's definitely not a favourite. I mean, keep giving him 10, 15 minutes is not exploiting him, in my opinion. Who knows? But we've got another block of tranche, I think is the word they use, a tranche of 10 games up until the World Cup break, which is in 12th of November is the last league game before we break for 4 weeks. Matt, it's a big 10-game period, actually. I mean, I know we've joked at the start of the show about Gary Rowett jumping off the gallows, singing and dancing. I think if the disappointing performance and if the disappointing results continue, and we look adrift, I don't think he's out of the woods by any means. Mixing my metaphors, he's still got work to do, isn't he?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we'll, because I don't think it's just about position in the league. Clearly, in my mind anyway, I'd want us to be top 10. Not too far off the playoffs by then. Worst case scenario, like 3 points off the playoffs or something like that, 3 or 4 points. That's not too bad going into the World Cup. Anything worse than that, and if the performances are the same sort of performances, then I think the crowd are going to be absolutely on his back. Because like I said before, 3 years of him 3 years is a long time at a club. He's got one of the longest serving managers in the league, let alone anywhere else, like the whole of the Football League. And people get bored of it. We get bored of it. The players will get bored of it. It's the same old voice, the same old things they're saying time and time again. Talk about middle management. That's a typical thing, isn't it? It's the same old thing. We need to change it. Going back to Graham in middle management. No offence, Graham. No offence.
That's fine, mate.
But it's true. So I think if we're not seeing any improvement in the performances and we're below 10th and we're away off the playoffs, it's not good enough, because this is what we've invested. We expected better. We expected better than last year, and that's what we've had for the last 3 years, isn't it? So, but I don't know if it's enough to be sacked. I think it's only if the crowd really make it toxic.
Untenable.
That's the only way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, there we are, listeners. If you want to make it untenable, I suppose it's up to you. Oh dear. I want to.
Nick, I was just going to say, Nick, I think the problem with Rao is he doesn't strike me as a people person. I think that's the problem.
His dad was a screw. His dad was a screw. That's why. He ran the nick on the Isle of Wight. That's why.
I think after Steve Beals, no, he's not. He's not a people person. I'll tell you why. Right. So last season, me and my son went to Stoke away, and we got there really early, and we were milling about talking to some Stoke fans. Guess who come walking across the car park, because he lives up there, doesn't he? Gary Rowett, the man himself, came walking across the car. Went, there's a manager over. Let's go and say hello. He didn't want to know. He did not want to know. He couldn't get away from us quick enough. There we were, Millwall scarf on. It was 12:30. We were up in Stoke, and he just didn't want to know. I took a picture of him with my son, and he didn't want to know. And I thought, well, fuck you. That's not a people person. He could have at least said. He could have at least said. He could have at least. He could have at least. No, seriously. He could have at least said someone like Brian Clough or Alex Ferguson or someone like that would have said. Yeah. Do you have a good night, boys? There was bags of time. It was 12. He couldn't get away from us quick enough. And I just thought, well, there you go. That's a guy who's out for himself. He's out for his own career. So I've got no faith in him at all. And I think the players are not playing for him. These are young blokes, and it's like they want to get it's getting teachers' approval, isn't it? That's the psychology. They want to know that the manager values them and thinks highly of them, and they want to please the manager. I don't think that's what's happening. I think he's going on TV blaming them, and they're thinking, well, I hope he does go, to be honest with you. I was a fan of him, but I don't know. I'm not anymore, to be honest with
you. This is really going to raise people's spirits as they listen to this in the gymnasium.
But at least we're being...
Positivity was my watchword for this show.
Positivity. Time to get real.
There we are. I do want to finish with some positivity. Neil mentioned the under-21s, Graham. I mean, they're going great guns, all out attacking side. 18 points, 6 wins from 6 starts, scoring loads of goals. Where do you see them all going in the transfer market?
I mean, something's going right there with. They're scoring a lot of goals. It's 3s and 4s near every game.
Abdul Malik, I think, is scoring well. The boy Topolodge, I think, has been involved. I mean, I'd have to get the names up on the screen there, but I just wanted to tip our collective hats to the under-21s are going great guns at the moment. Yeah, I might try and get over there. I always say this, Matt. I always say I might get along to a game. Like I said to Graham, I might get over to Beckenham tomorrow, and then it gets close. So I can't be asked going over there. I can't be asked going to the under-21s, but I'll say it for politeness' sake. So to finish us off something positive, Matt. I mean, 10 games to go. Where do you see the next 10-game tranche going, mate?
Thanks for the hospital part. Cheers. I'll try to use my best middle management.
They all say they want to come on the show and I'll give them hospital pass, so they won't come back then, listeners.
I mean, well, I mean, it is still early in the season, and the players are getting used to playing with one another. You know, Fleming, Afobe. I thought Afobe played well on Saturday.
He did. Yeah.
I think I mentioned it when I phoned in on my voicemail. You know, if you play the ball to him in the right way, invariably he does well. But he's always shouting for it. We're not putting it in the right place. So I think that could be another positive as well. Fleming, Hutch will be back in a game or two.
Yeah.
So,
and Bennett as well was really.
And Bennett's not far away. We've got some winnable games. So let's hope. And the 5 games we have lost are against sides that are in the top 6.
Yeah.
So
that's good. No, that's a fair comment.
So hang on to that. If you believe that, then you believe anything. No, I'm being positive. I'm being positive. So there is, I think there are things to cling onto. Yeah.
Cling on to. Say something positive, John. Come on.
Well, we'll have Ryan Leonard and Mason Bennett back, hopefully.
Ryan Leonard, not so much. I think Ryan Leonard is for the Doctor. Was it the Mrs. Miggins' pie shop? But I think certainly Bennett's on his way back. Yeah, and
do you remember the Swansea? Do you remember the Swansea game? Ryan Leonard's goal-saving tackle against Swansea.
Yeah, I do.
Fantastic. And Norwich, when we went up to Norwich, him and Sean Hutchins, that first half, Norwich weren't getting through. We were good, and that was excellent. So there are some positives, and I do think we miss Mason Bennett. Again, he's injured.
We do
because he chases every ball down. Basically, I think it only takes 1 or 2 results, doesn't it? The crowd, we get the enthusiasm back. We have a couple of good results. I mean, I think QPR was a bitter pill to swallow because last year
low point.
We played them off the park, and we played beautifully against QPR under the floodlights. And we all thought, QPR again under the floodlights, and it was awful. So I think, it's painful sometimes being a Millwall supporter, but there you go. We're all signed up to it. So I mean, it's 1 or 2 performances, and we'll all be back on board, and we'll all love Gary Rowett again. And it's
I'm going to finish with you, Graham. It's like an abusive relationship, mate, isn't it? Where you get bashed up, and then he tells you he loves you, and he'll go back again.
Yeah. Well, if the next 2 games are away, if they can pick something up from them 2 away games, then it'll pick up. That's the issue. If we can start getting some points in away games, and then the home games, and then it'll pick up. So hopefully, Blackburn and Rotherham, I think they are. We come back with 4 points, 2 points, just something to get us on the board away from home.
Amazing.
That'll get the team going.
Get the Rowett train rolling again.
I
think that's a good way to leave it. I want to say thank you to Matt Richards. Thank you, Matt, for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure, Nick.
So big thank you to John Rankin. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Cheers.
And of course to Graham. I will see him tomorrow night. I was only mucking about. I was going to go to the back end tomorrow. I was only messing him about. Big thank you, Graham. Thank you for joining the show, Graham.
Pleasure, Nick. Thank you.
And thank you to you too, dear listeners, for joining us for this round table. We're going to take a little bit of a break over the internationals. We'll be back ahead of that Blackburn game on October the 1st. So until then, it's goodbye from me, Nick Hart, and Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.